Cool. What's good, guys? I'm currently here right now with Manlikemike. Obviously, we're still doing CCS right now. We just want to have a little interview with him, just to get to know him a bit. So, Mike, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, thank you. I'm doing well.
How have you enjoyed the day?
It's been amazing. Like, you guys have actually done an amazing job. Like, all of us have just been saying how well, like, it's running smoothly. You've, like, prepared, like, refreshments, food for everyone, but then the information as well that's being shared.
Yeah.
I've been touched by it. Like, the first panel especially, like, what was being said was so powerful.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you guys just put my hats off to you, or whatever the phrase is, because, like, you guys
I appreciate that, man. It took a lot to get here, but honestly, we're so glad you're here, man.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, you're on a simplistic level. Someone would say you're a graphic designer, but do you feel like you're a bit more than that?
That's a good question. I would say yes. Even like yesterday, as I was like thinking about like what to share again, like going through my presentation, kind of been like going over like, okay, what would I like define myself? What's my title? Graphic designer like still sticks because that's like what I started with and that's what I still do. But there are a lot of other elements, and I think when you look at media as a whole, it's so broad. Like, not only is there like still image, there's moving image, and then there's a bit of like photography, videography and stuff, and like editing. So yeah, I'm trying to like work out, but yeah, I'd probably say I do a bit more than just like graphic design.
I hear that. And doing a bit of research into you, I realized the engineering at uni.
Yeah.
So how did we get here?
Oh.
How did we get here? What's the kind of story behind that?
Okay, so with me, I studied bioengineering at the University of Sheffield. That was a very interesting 3 years. And during my course, I started it because I felt like engineering was like a good what's this word? It was kind of like a way to, I forgot this word's gonna annoy me, but it was a way of me not, basically I was like, okay, it's a good middle ground. It's not like creative, because at the time I didn't really fully understand what a creative career looked like. So I was like, okay, I was gonna go down the science route. Science, I found it wasn't really for me. And I was like, okay, engineering seems like a good middle ground because it's a bit innovative, it's a bit creative, and it still has that science background that I'm from, like with my GCSEs and then my A levels, which I flopped in, but it's okay. We got to a foundation.
It's really okay.
But like, yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Engineering seems like a good fit. And then from there, while I was on my course doing bioengineering, I was like, I remember sitting in all of my lectures and I was like, I can appreciate that this is really good information. And this can, like, the course I do literally does save lives, like creating technology like prosthetics or like tissue grafting for like burn victims and stuff like that. So like the stuff was amazing, but I just was not interested. And when I'm more interested, like I remember once I was looking at the packaging of like medical equipment and I was like, wow, this is so bad. And I wasn't even thinking about the contents of it. I was like, okay, yeah, definitely like there's an issue here. So I realized I was more focused on like the media or design side of stuff rather than the actual science bit. So I was kind of willing to let that go, and I had so many interests from like, okay, I joined the photography team at church, so I was like learning how to use my camera. I started a YouTube channel as well because I felt like I just wanted to be more creative and like create stuff and like work kind of like have an avenue to like create and just put work out there. So the more stuff I did, the more I did in that area, the more I realized that, okay, this seems like this is the space that I'm supposed to be in. But again, this whole mindset of, can it really work being a creative? Like, is it, can I make money? Can I be, can I be self-sustained? Where are the jobs? Because people around me, my mum's not a creative, my extended family aren't creative. No one around me is really creative. So like, how is this going to work? And I think it took me upskilling myself and just taking that journey with God, and God really just like be knocking on my head like, this is your passion, this is what you're kind of supposed to do, and your purpose is kind of down this line. That was like, okay, cool. So when it got towards the end of uni, I had like, it got to the point where everybody kind of knew that this course was not for me. When other people, like, on my laptop in a lecture, and I'm working on like a photo, Photoshop is open, and I'm working on a design, and people are really watching me, and they know I'm not interested, and they're like, okay, yeah, Michael, we can probably tell like this ain't for you. You're probably not gonna do this outside of uni. And yeah, I realized that after uni, I was like, hey God, we're gonna take the leap and we're just gonna journey to the outside.
I hear that. But right now, there are probably people watching you who are probably kind of maybe in their third, second, first year of uni, kind of having that same feeling, that same, I don't really think this uni thing for me. My degree is not for me, but I love the creative industry. I love photography, videography. I love graphic design or whatever creative kind of venture it is. What advice would you really give for them?
Study. When I say study, like, I think when we look at the creative industry or anything like creative, we don't keep the same energy. So when it comes to university or like academics, we can study, we know what it is to educate ourselves on our subjects. But when it comes to, the creative arts, it's like, okay, yeah, I can just like learn how to take pictures, but there's no like, we don't have that same tenacity, tenacity, or that same drive, or maybe like we just don't know what to look for. So I'd say like educating yourself on the industry, educating yourself on how to actually use your camera. Like I remember when I did YouTube, a lot of my peers that did YouTube, they actually didn't know how to use their cameras. So when it came to like filming, they film on automatic. And it was stress me because I'm just like, oh guys,
you can't be doing that.
They're supposed to film at 50 frames per second, 25, thing like frame rate. But they were like, oh no, just set it to automatic. And from there, I was just like, some people just aren't aware. But for example, if I was to if I did a formal job, for example, and I delivered work that was at the wrong frame rate, they'd be looking, the images will just be moving like this and it wouldn't be like crisp or clear. Or when you look at the ISO, maybe it's too high. And I realized that a lot of people didn't have that knowledge. And so I know with me, I just and I learned from like church as well. Like there were a lot of creatives, luckily there was a photography team, production team. So I learned about the standard, and with that, so I studied and just educate yourself in terms of the industry, skills, and also even looking at other things and observing. So as like a lot of my designer friends, that we are always like looking out at everything. We're looking at TFL posters, we're looking at film posters, we're looking at album artwork, we're looking at if like, for example, Uber's like redesigned their logo like 3 times in the space of like 5 years, and we have literally like put them all in the group chat. We're like, guys, the pros, the cons, and we're constantly kind of studying and like picking things apart and asking ourselves like, okay, so why did this brand go with this color? And I think education is so important. So like just educating yourself, looking at the world around you, upskilling if you can, and if you have a passion, trying to build a network and just ask around and stuff as well. Would be very important. I feel like I missed bits, but hopefully that answered.
I'm gonna leave that because I want to ask a question based on that. But kind of with this kind of shift from bioengineering to creative industry, kind of we talked a bit about on the panel discussion. But how kind of did your parents, your mom, your extended family take to that, and how would you advise someone who's looking to make that switch, but they don't know if their parents, their families, even their friends who are around them kind of really back that industry?
With me, I feel like I probably could have handled it better, if I'm being honest, because I kind of came back from uni, and I had this, I think during my like last couple of weeks at uni, I had this like epiphany, and I was like, wow, so you're telling me I was always supposed to go down this road, but I kind of allowed like the voices of people. I allowed people to almost kind of like say, okay, this is my call, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to study, do it. And then during my time at uni, I had to unlearn so much of that. And I was like, okay, God, but you actually created me to be like this. So when I left uni, like after graduating and came back home, I actually had a bit of resentment towards my mum. So like my delivery when it came to, I'm gonna study something, there was like, there was a bit of pride, there was a bit of like anger, because I was like, oh no, I feel like I've been trying to, do life by the terms of everybody else, and I've been neglecting myself. So I'm going to take a chance on me, and I'm going to actually pursue what I feel like God's telling me to do. But the way I kind of worded it was not really good, because it's almost like I forgot the sacrifice that my mum made. And even now I have to remind myself like, oh no, Michael, your mum really did a lot for you. Like the schools that I went to, her pushing for me to like be the best. I went to like Saturday school, so she was really pushing for me to be like a strong academic. So obviously, like if for her to hear that her son's pursuing like a creative, career, she was just there like, all of my blood, sweat and tears has just been thrown in the bin. And that was hard, but I've since then we've had like loads of conversations, and just keeping her aware and just opening her mind up to like the journey, and also just educating her as well, because I think sometimes like our parents, like Joseph said at the panel, like our parents don't know better. So sometimes, I'm not saying that they don't know anything, but in terms of like the industries or the areas that you want to navigate in, like they don't know that, they didn't have the luxury to do that. Like a lot of our parents, maybe they work certain jobs as a means of like survival, not so that they can like, it wasn't a thing of like, I didn't have time to walk in purpose because I had to provide food for my children. We had to pay the bills, and they're coming from, you know, they migrated here. So like that is tough in itself.
Yeah.
Whereas now, obviously, it's a completely different, like, you know, time that we're in. And we are privileged now that, okay, at least like maybe we don't have to worry about paying rent because we can stay at home. Maybe we're like, we have more awareness of the world around us and the possible career opportunities. So we can actually go for something, and our parents, you know, they didn't have that opportunity. So I think it's having the grace to understand the mindset of sometimes of our parents wanting us to like go towards certain career paths. Like they have good intentions, but obviously that may not help us, especially when we feel like we're supposed to be going for like our God-given purpose. But I will say, like, keep it open and honest and just trying to be patient at times. But I guess it's a balance of trying to make sure that you still go along with what you feel God is calling you to do, but still trying to be respectful. Like my Apostle Toby, he's like the head of my church, he says something, and he says the Bible says, which is a bit, but he says the Bible says, what does he say? I don't want to misquote it. Honor your father and mother in the way that you should go. You know, when Moses was looking at the commandments, he basically said that you should like honor your parents. But something along the lines of, but he didn't say obey. This is very techie, but because I can't remember it like word for word. But basically, what he was kind of explaining was respect your parents and honor them, but everything that they say that you should do, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. Because sometimes it may not come from, it's gonna sound mad, but it may not come from a godly place. It may come from a place of like, okay, I'm fearful that if you go down this road, it's not gonna work out for you. So I want you to be protected. But then again, if that's not coming from a place of God, when it comes to like following it, you can't, I know it's a bit of a awkward you have to know, okay, if you feel like God has really told you to do something, like you have to obey God, and sometimes that may mean going against your parents' wishes. But it's just trying to balance it out so that there's like peace. I'm not trying to, you know, tell you to be like, oh yeah, mom, I'm gonna be a rock star. I just do a madness, but like you have to find a way to just be honest and be firm, but also be respectful at the same time. And because at the end of the day, we're adults. Like, even though yes, we may live in our parents' homes and obviously like all of that kind of stuff, but like we are adults and we are now in charge of our own lives, so we actually have to take responsibility and do things that may seem like go against the grain to the people around us. But if we believe that God said it, then we have to obey. Go with it.
And final question, what do you think it means to be salt and light, especially in this generation and as purposeful creatives?
So break it into two. Salt having like substance, and light kind of being a reflection of God's light, but also trying to like make your mark. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be the most loud, it doesn't mean that you have to have the most followers or whatever, but just having impact and substance out there in the world. Like when we look at the world is already loud, busy, so much is going on, but how are we leaving our, you know, like taste? How are we like even preserving like the culture or like godly values like in a particular place, because salt's a preservative, right? So like it's so many things of like making sure that we leave like remnants of ourselves, because you know, like when you scatter salt to places, like there's always salt that's just around. So it's like, how do we kind of leave substance, or like how do we leave ourselves or leave a mark, but also like how do we create impact and touch the lives of people around us without necessarily having to be the biggest voices. But like, okay, if I talk to someone or like a shopkeeper and said, oh, thank you, have a blessed day, God bless you, or just compliment them, that could do a lot. Like even, you know, sometimes you never know, the smallest things that you may do have massive impact in someone's life, and it's even the little things like that that I think are important.
I like that. The substance thing, I like that. But guys, thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed CCS. Manlikemike, thank you for coming, for leading our workshop. And you know, I hope we see each other soon.
No, 100%. Like,
each other soon.
I've told the majority of the team, like I actually love you guys. Like you guys did such an amazing job. Like I just have to say, like they did such an amazing job, especially like as a university. Just wow.
Well, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
I have to constantly show that this is what I want. But every now and then, if I'm complaining about my job, I'm like, no, you can always go to banking. So I just have to keep quiet. So like, okay, mom, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Like, obviously they're accepting and embracing what I'm doing. Would they prefer me to do a bit of banking a little bit? They might have,
Yeah.
but they would never say that. They'd always say, whatever
what you
God called you to
Yeah.
do, or whatever you wanted to do is what you're going to do.